Kids.
All right. Welcome to the April 9th episode of MVP Barbecue Hours. Excuse me, MVP Office Hours. I am one of your helpful, friendly co-hosts, along with Dale Ziegler and Joy Shutters-Helbing. Hi there, everybody. And we are really excited to see you. It's been a couple weeks since we had a chance to talk. So welcome back. Quick highlights for the day. As always, all the events that are available to us are linked in the first slide of the deck. Most recently, Dreamolay, Albanian Dreamin', Czech Dreamin', and Texas Dreamin' are coming up virtually. Correction, Texas Dreamin' just canceled. They're going to do something smaller and virtual rather than their usual large June event, but being conscious of the current state of affairs. And then and everything else, Salesforce is virtual, like we talked. Keeping track of all the user groups and community groups. Again, all those links are there. And then most importantly, or not most importantly, maybe most important for this meeting, keep track of our Twitter handles, including MVP Office Hours, and our email, mvpofficehours@gmail.com. If you have questions, concerns, problems, anything you want to add to the agenda for our next call. The US's MVP Office Hours is usually the first and third Friday of the month. Obviously, in a 5-week schedule, it gets a little bit crazy, but and this is one of those examples. We'll be back on track week after next. And Portuguese, MVP Portuguese is the last Thursdays of the month. As a reminder, don't have to speak Portuguese, be part of it, but everyone there is equally as helpful as we try to be. And MVP Office Hours, or MVP OH Portuguese, is their Twitter handle if you need anything there. And then, as always, the reminder, we've got a meeting coming up on the 23rd after this one. But for those of you who chose to join us today, please participate, raise your hand, take yourself off mute to share or ask questions or to whatever you want to do to participate. But keep in mind that if you're not talking, stay on mute. If you're going to share anything, please make sure that you're sharing a sandbox or anything that's not proprietary, because as always, we record, and if it can't be recorded, then we can't have your stuff on the screen because we're not going to be able to take it back out. And when you are participating, introduce yourself and bring yourself to the front of the group. Step up, be part of the team. So with that, we have, I've lost track, 26 participants. How many MVPs? Everybody gives a high five. Hello, everybody. As a reminder, we're all MVPs today. So, and probably every day. Who am I kidding? And it's great to see all of you. So why don't we go ahead and jump right in? The first question on the docket, Sarah was interested in a flow failing in community. We're going to ask you to dive deep and give us some details and go from there.
Okay, so I will go ahead and share my sandbox if that is okay.
Please.
Oh, it says I cannot screen share while other participant is sharing.
Oh, sorry. Now go ahead.
All right. So I think, let me find the right window here. So I was trying to do what I thought was a really simple flow, which was get a contact from a user. So I have a little formula here, and what that does is look up the case safe ID. Right now it has, I tried a bunch of different troubleshooting stuff. So what I wanted this to do was have the user contact ID from the user, case safe, make sure that's case safe. I thought that might be part of the problem. And then use that to get the contact record and then display some information on a screen from that contact. So this gets the contact record based off of that formula. That is the only reason I put a formula in there and not just the user ID was I thought it was maybe a case safe issue because I saw in the debug there was a 15 versus an 18 character ID issue, but I'm not sure if that's the problem. And then on this information display screen, this is just taking this field current membership information, which is a like concatenated field on the, it's a formula on the contact record, and I wanted to display it on this screen. So maybe the issue is that field. I don't know. I'm not sure if this will run in debug right now because I'm the running user, so it might get weird. But one of the things I was trying to do is like to debug it. Basically, when I put it in the community, I just get this like blank box with nothing shown in it. So like the information isn't here. If I run it as a user in the community, so if I just log in as this test user, it gives me an unhandled fault. So it's not like finding the contact record, I think.
Can you show me again in the flow what you're doing there to get
Yeah. So
the contact?
sorry, it's a little disorganized because of what after I started troubleshooting, I started breaking the flow itself. But the idea is we could even try it with just going in here and putting in the user and then their contact ID. This is the lookup to the contact from the user record. I thought maybe that's where I'm going wrong. So we're trying to find a contact record where the ID equals the contact that's related to the user that's running the flow.
Do you have all the contact IDs populated on the user records?
That's a good question. Let me at least go check for this one.
Because that's one thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. That's a good question.
I was thinking too, like it's not running in guest user, in which case there's no actual contact tied to that user. It's authenticated already.
Yeah, so here's the what I assume is the lookup. And that's going to a contact record ID. So for this test user who is authenticated, at least I don't know if this was also something about like logging in from the back end as a user, if that's going to throw it or not. But let me try it again with the now that I updated that flow to just directly get it from the user.
Another thing is, does the community user's profile have the proper CRUD for viewing the contact object?
Oh, that's a good
Maybe
question.
they can't even see their own contact. Is that what you're saying, Dale?
Right, if
Right.
they don't have read access on contact, I thought.
Or if you own the contact and the user
Right.
can't see what you own.
Right, sharing.
Right. No, that's a really good question of whether the user has access to their own contact record. I thought they did, but I'm not 100% sure.
And Stuart added a link, so maybe we've got a quick answer. We can always count on Stuart to find the Google link that we needed.
Yeah, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I see where this isn't like directly related to what you're asking, but I know that there is some trickiness with exposing the contact ID in a community.
Okay.
And there are some links. I'll put another one in where there's a help file talking about community users being able to see contact information inside the community.
Yeah.
It's really even I've read this before because I've tried to do something similar to this, and it was vague as to how to get to some of that user data through the contact info to try and like pre-register contacts for things.
Got it. Yeah, I think the flow error email that I got said that like basically it got the ID, but then it failed to find the record in the get elements, which to me says Dale is on the right track, that it's a permissions thing.
Permissions and or sharing, because it could
sharing.
be what Squire was saying too, depending on if it's a private and who the owner is and all that kind of stuff. It could be both.
Okay, that gives me a good avenue to go look down. So I will do some of that research and let you know how it turns out.
Absolutely. So one thing that I do though want to also call out, and this is for the broader audience. So anytime you're doing anything dealing with IDs, especially in Flow.
Yeah.
Case safe ID is definitely not necessary because if you're taking the running user's ID, that native field, and you're looking for a contact ID, the native field, and or a lookup or whatever, Salesforce knows that you're working with the ID itself. So 15 versus 18 doesn't matter. But on the other side of that, I would strongly discourage using case safe ID because it wreaks havoc on the compiler engine, may hit your code coverage. Little known fact, fun fact that's bitten me so many times. Case safe ID, if you do just a regular formula field, that's case safe ID of the ID, and then check your syntax, takes up about half the 5,000 character compiler. That one function alone. So then as you're starting, if you start to use it in Flow and then deploy up, it could really put a ding on code coverage. So definitely if you're doing definite record lookups and definite IDs, get rid of case safe ID yesterday.
Good to know. Thank you.
It's one of those little known things that gets missed by a lot, and it's a lot of like head scratching. Case safe ID serves one purpose: reports.
That is a very good tip. Thank you.
Sarah, Stu added a second link that is another check for you to look
Okay.
at to and make sure those contacts are even available to communities.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to check. So
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody.
Thank you for sharing. Good luck. Let us know what happens.
I will.
Okay, and with that, who's
Todd.
next up?
After Sarah's Todd.
Todd,
All
let's
right.
go.
Hello. A couple sessions ago, I had a question concerning trying to get a collaboration group or chatter group ID and Flow using the name. It's been confirmed as a bug by Salesforce R&D and is now in the queue. So I did some more testing with it, and it appears that automated process doesn't have access to collaboration group.
Of course they don't.
So anyway, that's out in the queue to be worked. My question is, I've been doing some cleanup in our org. Like I decided I didn't need version 1 of a flow that has like 45 versions now. And as part of this, yeah, that's a nice face, Joy. I thought the same thing. My
You
question
killed
is,
Stu too.
yeah, he's just gone. They're not
Joy's
there
on
anymore,
mute.
Stu. My question is, we had some consultants helping us with our initial implementation. What's best practice as far as inactivating those? I'm concerned, is there any signing that goes on flows or anything like that in Salesforce that I could tear something up by inactivating consultants as admin? They're system admins.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh
thank
my
you.
gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. If they built stuff, if they're the running user on stuff, if there's oh my god.
Dashboard owner.
Wow.
Dashboard owner.
Oh,
You cannot
wow.
run.
Scheduled reports, scheduled dashboards. I would, yeah, holy crap.
Yeah.
Matter
One
of
of those
picking
things you
through
get an
those.
alert on, I think, when you deactivate, right?
Yeah.
Well, not all of them make that queue though, Squire. You're in like, yes, you'll get those kinds of warnings, but it's not comprehensive, unfortunately.
Yeah, and if they
Dashboards just don't work.
yeah, if they hard coded specific names or specific emails into things, then that's a problem too. So
well.
it depends on how good they were as far as how they built stuff.
And it's twofold. I mean, I'll add to Stu there. Yeah, they shouldn't be, especially as the consulting partner, i.e. not employee, they shouldn't be having those things run as themselves. But I'd also put it back on you, Todd, as the system admin. Do you have a user ID that is reserved as your admin user or system user, dummy user, or whatever, that gets to run all the things to then instruct consultants to say, run things as that?
Yeah, not yet, but I'm going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So I have one set up that we set up as a no reply user that sends emails and stuff, but I probably need another one to basically quote sign stuff with and run as and do everything you just said.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's just a search and destroy mission as I can find these things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Todd,
Yes.
by personal experience, you can only have 50 versions of a flow, and then you have to delete some of the old ones because you can't have more
Oh.
than that.
Cool.
Got to purge at some point.
Well, oh, let's see. I have like 8 pages of things I purged because I kept track of what I purged and which versions I got rid of just in case something happened. And that's after I created a backup.
Which actually, like that, I mean, that's obviously really a good idea to, keep, if you have to purge version 50 ago, I mean, chances are you're not going to need it, but it's good to have that documentation. There's definitely some great ways, either through DX or Workbench, that you could actually get the metadata behind those versions if you needed to. It takes a tiny bit of work, but like once you see what it takes, it's easily repeatable and it saves pretty easily there locally. But yeah.
When
And if you're going to go down that rabbit hole, that metadata extract is a great way to go look for an email or an ID or a whatever. If you've got access to the queue, you can just do a full search.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
tool is that again, please?
Workbench
So
or
well, like I know like Eclipse, rest in peace. If you could do a full comprehensive search on an org for one value and it would pop up everything across all the metadata to do it. I don't, can DX do that?
If you pull it into VS Code, it's
Yeah.
all there to be evaluated.
yeah, VS
Okay.
Code has extensions that'll let you do that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Plus, it's also a really fun experiment to just have all your metadata in VS Code and just poke around and learn a little bit more about it from that exploration side. So
Okay.
it's a rabbit hole. Enjoy yourself.
Yep.
Well,
I
and-
won't go and activate them yet.
Right. Well, and I will also say, like, I'm trying to figure out how to like make this as marketable and potentially present on, but I actually have a batch of templates I've been working on that takes that XML code and converts it into admin readable, friendly, like spreadsheets to create configuration workbooks and stuff. So going to Squire's point, it's fun to just explore. You will be your company's, your client's best friend if you know how to break that stuff down. And I mean, I would love, I got to figure out a sustainable process behind it, but I would love to work with people to make that available because it is super easy and super powerful.
So I need to talk to you about that, Dale, because working on Shield encryption. And one of the things about enabling Shield encryption is that you need to choose the fields that you're going to encrypt. That's one of the things.
Gotcha.
But when you chosen the fields you're going to encrypt, you need to pretty much know where is this used for all those fields, because you need to know if it's going to have problems in formulas or in Apex code or in filters or searches or reports or everything. So that's one of the issues that I'll be going through, is knowing, okay, for every single thing, what's using this thing.
Yeah, buzz me next week. I'll be more than happy to show you what I have.
But I've got a question for Todd on this disabling or removing versions of your flow. Are there, as you're doing it, are there gotchas? Are there variables and things like that that you can, reasons why it won't remove the old version of the flow?
I had a couple like that, and we had a process builder that made absolutely no sense to me, and I finally convinced the business that it made no sense. But I had to go in and clean up paused interviews. I did figure out how to do that, so I just blew all of those away because they were kind of an invalid thing anyway. Basically, the process builder, if someone became a customer, it would wait 1 year and then mark the account of the customer.
1 year?
Holy moly.
I'm sorry, 365 days.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, I pushed back on that one. I said, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
So after about 2 weeks of discussion, they just decided that they agreed.
2 weeks, famously 14 of those 365 days.
It's a lot
So
of
yes,
time
Stuart,
for
I
a lot
did
of time
run
for a
into that.
record to be sitting in a queue.
Yes, and then after people leave and they fail when they run again anyway.
Oh boy.
Yeah. First time that hit, I went, oh my goodness. So, well, thank you for your help. I will let you know what I end up doing.
Awesome. I think that leaves us with Brittany next.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I have a page in Salesforce called the retention page. And on this page, there is a dashboard. So the sales manager has asked me to provide metrics on who is looking at this page, or if it's easier, who is looking at this dashboard. Is there a way to do this for free without like event monitoring and things like that?
Oh, you want for free.
For free, yes.
I have unfortunately never seen anything in the dashboard space that gives any kind of a run history. Reports you can get last run. I don't even know that you can get last run by. I think it's just last run, but dashboards definitely haven't. But I mean, is there anything in any kind of user audit or user tracking that you can derive from?
So like if we set up a debug log for the user?
Yeah. Not so much. Is it debug log? But you know, there's definitely the feature there that when you know you have a sales rep that has put in their 2 weeks notice and you're trying to watch everything that they're exporting because they're going to take their accounts with them. Is that debug or is that something else?
I know what you're talking about, the logs though. She's kind of looking for something ongoing though, like to see like who's just looking at it.
Right. And that's what I'm wondering is there at least something that could be derived from that data set that gets you the dashboards? And I'm looking to everybody else in the room on that one.
The closest we've ever gotten was we were tracking actual refreshes because we have so many that we don't have them automatically refreshing on open. And so we were because that there's a record in the background and system that keeps you from refreshing the dashboard more than, I think is it 100 times in an hour or something like that. There's like a blocker that will keep someone from basically blowing up the system by clicking refresh. And we were backing into that. It wasn't great though, because literally all it told you was that somebody refreshed it, not that they were even doing anything with it. The other thing that is a little bit more end around, but maybe is a free way to do it, is if you make the dashboard accessible via a button from like say a homepage, and then as part of that action, it also could write like a snapshot record somewhere or an activity that you could actually just report and say, who clicked this button and what days, then you start getting effectively a log. It's very heavy handed, but it's there. Oh, Joy's got a way better idea.
I can't, am I muted?
You're good now.
Okay. So, I'm kind of freezing in this moment because it sounds like a lot of work and I'm trying to understand why, what the request is about. Is it to find out if people are using it because it's not useful, or they're trying to determine if it's useful, or is it because they want to make sure that the team is seeing this?
Consultants with your whys, I can't take it.
Because I like
the BA thing to do.
But because I mean the road you're going down, Squire, is not a quick fix. The road you're going down is probably going to work, but it's also going to be a lot of heavy lifting for Brittany. And so what I'm asking is, what is to what end? Why do they want to know if people are looking at this? Do they just want to know that they're paying attention to the business? Do they want to know, if these people are clued in? And there's other ways to do that, I think, that are more humane. And one of those is a discussion, even just like an email chain discussion. Not that we like to go to email for anything in Salesforce, even a chatter discussion, but I think there's other ways to approach this without being so like Big Brother-ish, and just following like what everyone's clicks are.
I have a passive aggressive approach to it that has actually worked in the past. Move the dashboard to your private folder. That way no one can get it. And if nobody screams about it, you just got your answer. I've done that before, and I'm not saying it's the first option, but it's worked.
Yeah. And another option is you can put a component in there that has like, I don't know, some kind of like rando number, and the first person to report back with the number gets the prize. I don't know. Like
I like that.
You can motivate, you can get that like the people looking at this stuff without the stick. Like go for the carrot. You can play, you can give them, like, hide it, right, and make it more like an Easter egg hunt. But I think that it's really understanding the why. And if they don't think they're looking at it, subscribe them to the dashboard, send the dashboard to the group. Don't let them not look at it.
Put it on their homepage, then they have to look at it because they open up the page.
Yeah, spoon feed it to them. But I think that like tracking their activity is like a different. I'm trying to understand the why behind it. And Brittany, you're going to be able to get those answers. We can just open the gates here.
There is a way to do it. It's difficult and possibly expensive, but there is an API that can be used to expose events, and then take that data, and you have to use something to then put that data in and report on it and make sense of it. But you could, in essence, track anything that your users are doing, and through the API expose that to a different service.
Yeah.
Or build your own service that looks at that data.
So slightly different direction. So Sarah posted an idea in the chat on dashboard usage reporting. So it is on the minds of many people. If it's an idea, people are thinking about it. One thing, at least to help, whether there's a clearly defined why or not, and going back to Joy's point about opening the conversation, how is that dashboard scheduled to refresh automatically? I saw on your screenshot it said 4/9, which is today, but was that because you refreshed it, or what's?
I refreshed it.
You refresh it, okay. Because you can also, at least to help get your data potentially, maybe not, maybe it doesn't apply in this case, but you can run a report on reports to then also include what dashboards are this report on. If you track the reports on that dashboard and you start to see that they're not getting run, that means the dashboard with those reports isn't refreshing. That means no one's running the reports independently. That means the information in that dashboard isn't being accessed by anybody. That's definitely not going to be your silver bullet, but if you find that no one is consuming any of that information and the system isn't refreshing it for them, there's your business case right there. It hasn't been run in X number of days. But that's a very finite linear path there that only works with no one's using it. If people are checking it, you're not going to get that data out of there, but it will get you the no one is using it.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Bree had a good idea in the chat about putting a chatter poll on the dashboard to see who's looking at it.
I think a lot. It's funny because so many times we talk about the why, and we just had a conversation at my workplace about why, and what we really ended up trying to get them asked is, so what? So like, the why, sometimes it feels really easy for the management to say, because we want to know if they're using it. Well, if they are, what's the outcome? If they aren't, what's the outcome? Maybe that's what the question really is. Because why is great if the answer is also telling you that. So I mean, I think you want to go even deeper, and more importantly, maybe the dashboard isn't even answering the real question, right? Like maybe there needs to be scheduled activities or escalations or something that say not about whether you checked, but hey, how come you're not closing enough deals or something? So yeah, I mean, I would go as deep as you can, because sometimes that helps answer that question as well.
Yeah, and another prong to ask from is to just naively walk into the conversation and ask, okay, so what are our KPIs? Oh, they're A, B, and C. Interesting, because this dashboard reports on L, Q, and Y. So dashboard's main purpose in life are supposed to be to really get you those critical KPI level kinds of things. Anything else, that's what reports are for. So if they don't align with the mission, you have your answer right there. And again, not to be passive aggressive about it, but you can be passive aggressive about it and still get the answers that you need. There's a number of different ways to go about this.
Good luck.
Thanks, everybody.
Who was next then? I'm sorry.
Christy.
After Brittany
Oh,
was
Christy.
Christy.
I can't share a screen, sorry, because it's a government thing.
Imagine,
but-
if you will.
Yeah. Word picture.
Well, and you guys might know the answer right offhand. There's a particular form that I'm building that has a bazillion fields, so we don't want them all on the same screen in the screen flow. So I've got a couple different ones, and what I've realized, and I only realized this because one of the customer people prefers to tab instead of click. Okay, so I'm tabbing through, and one of my screens, I have sections, by the way, that beta section thing, seems to tab left to right, and one of them is tabbing top to bottom. Why? And how do I make it consistent?
I thought the sections had a tab order checkbox in the build. Am I wrong?
Maybe I've missed that. Does anyone have a screen thing they can share with tab order?
And this is in a flow, right? Not a.
It is in a
section on
flow.
page.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a flow. Yeah.
I'm gonna look really quick and see if I can find that example.
Oh, wait. I have a flow open, maybe. Maybe. No. I don't know if we're gonna get, I'm gonna see what, oh my God, I have the hiccups. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And I have a lot of 2 sections, because there's so many fields that I did section with 2 things instead of, and then if I have to give directions before the next section, then it's a 1 and then it's 2.
Well, that didn't work out for me. Not a show off. Da, 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 da.
Claire,
Everybody,
you
quick-
want to share your screen flow for fun since I can't?
yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. I don't want to show you gibberish here.
Oh, okay.
The one I was just looking at is more nightmare than value, so we're skipping it.
Okay. I didn't know if anyone would know offhand. I didn't, figured before I start playing with it. If not,
I'm gonna play the ignorance card because I honestly didn't know that was a thing yet. But I'll also be honest that I've had a daily reminder for the last 3 months to read the spring 21 release notes. So
well, and I just figured you guys might
Got
have said,
it.
oh, it's
I
the
got it.
way
Maybe,
you put your
maybe,
fields
maybe.
in there.
Did you find one?
Well, I found there's next or control navigation. I don't see anything about left to right, up and down and all that fun jazz. Damn it.
Yeah, I can't find an example of one that even matters.
Section though, does the section thing give me any stuff? Please, section configure full width. No, let's go with not full width. Add a column. Column 1, column 2, or component visibility, or no, that's not it. Configure columns. Each section can have up to 4 columns from a total of 12 units. Set the width of each column. That doesn't help us. I want to talk. Oh, section, come back. There's
Pretty sure
configure
it's not an
column.
option.
Yeah, I don't see it as an option. The only really option that you have is the full width or not the full width for the column, right? And then if you add a column, it doesn't say anything about add a section component visibility.
My assumption is one of you might have said, oh, it's the order you dropped the fields into that section or whatever, but I'll go play with it. I was just trying to find a faster answer than playing with it.
Yeah, you know what? Add a section and try, right? But I'm not seeing anything with that kind of flexibility.
Okay.
I mean, I could not be seeing it. That's always possible because I'm playing. I'm not working.
I'll get back to you in 2 weeks and let you know what I find then.
I'm really curious about that now. That would make me bananas because I'm very specific about how you tab through the stuff. Like I like it to go in a specific order, and depending on how the data is laid out, if it's side by side paired data, or if it's go through this column then go through this column, it matters. Like I'm working on this one object that it matters that you go side to side. You cross the aisle. And then I've got other stuff where I'm like, I don't care what you guys do.
Well, and if every screen did the same thing, I'd be fine. I'd be like, oh, that's what it does. But for one screen to do side to side and then the other one to do top to bottom, I went, oh.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting.
Is it, do you think this is Cindy, do you think it's looking at the page layout? Because when you set up new sections in a page layout, you have the choice of going from down the first column and then down the right column, or you could do left to right.
Well, this is within a flow.
Okay, I just didn't know. I don't really know much about flows, but I thought, I don't know if it was looking at the page layout for your flow. I don't know.
I mean, it is a good call out because you never know if there's some kind of connected there.
But I haven't created a record yet in that flow. It's just the screen input field. So these are all the variables that I've created for the screen input field.
Gotcha. Okay, so completely independent of an object entirely. Okay,
Yep.
Got it.
Later on, it's going to make something, but
Right.
And it's just this section beta, the section option in flow, that beta situation, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I have two columns. If I only had one column, it would have to go just down the row, right? So
Yeah. But as it is, it's jumping from section to section horizontally, but not always.
right, one screen, because I've got like 4 or 5 screens. Otherwise, my one screen would have like this many fields on it to do, and
Sure.
that's nobody wants that.
Also known
So
as everyone's opportunity object ever.
yeah,
So does it complete a section first?
probably I have to go look at it. I was tabbing. I was on debug and I was tabbing through like I was the person doing it, and that's when I realized I'm like, yeah, okay, wait, that's not consistent. So
There's a voice in my head. So this isn't what I was thinking it was. I think I was thinking Visual Force. But I'm wondering if it doesn't try to complete a whole section before it jumps to the next section.
So
you should check to make sure it's not going, like column 1, field 1, 2, and then column 2, 1, then column 3, 1, 2, 3, 4.
got it. Yeah, I'll play with that and I'll get back to you guys on what I find there.
Because I
It
know
does-
that the context should be within sections first. So maybe it's just trying to be smart and it's not very smart at all.
there is a comment in help and all that good stuff that says multi-column screen layout is responsive. So columns stack vertically to fit on mobile phones. And so that might give us some indicator of how this is supposed to be responding. So it's like it's supposed to go through each column. But I don't know why it would be hopping across at all.
Yeah,
then.
I'm definitely going to play with the order I put it on the field and see what
Okay.
happens.
Okay.
And I guess also, what types of fields are you capturing? Are they all like the same size text fields? Are some of them like bigger, long area text? Is it like
It's
something-
text and currency because it's a bunch of currency fields of income and stuff.
And on text, none of them are jumping out to a long area text? Because where I'm going with that is going like to Joy saying, if it's built with mobile responsiveness in mind and potentially having to go into a column, is it potentially looking at how much vertical real estate each field takes up on a desktop page to then potentially dictate how it would scrunch in?
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, that's probably a far reaching thing, but
Did you say scrunch?
I did say scrunch. The verb.
All right. Well, thank you. I will get back to you then.
So, sorry, Christy. I got
That's okay.
distracted by Dale saying scrunch. I was like, what?
Scrunch is as much of a verb as skosh is a unit of measure.
It's not that funny.
It's Friday. It's hilarious.
And let me just say it now, because if it turns out to be true, we're all going to say it when we see it. If it has to do with the order it's added to the field, what a nightmare. So here's hoping that is not even close.
You said it was a beta, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, sections and the flow is beta. And so there might be some more documentation out there around that specifically, but it's buried.
I was just gonna say blame betas. That's why I never trust betas. I'm a late adopter. I want my things GA before I start doing them. I appreciate those who do it earlier, but I let everybody else break things for me. That's just
No, but
my
having a
mindset.
column this long across the freaking page of a laptop for putting in, $100 or something, you're just like, no, I
Right.
want it this long.
Christy, I would join that multi-column screen beta success group and ask there. The product owner might be able to speak to it.
Okay, cool. I didn't think about that.
I've been trying
Sure.
to. I'm having problems. It is Friday and my brain stopped. I might as well just go home. There is a site where smart Flownatic community members put examples of really great flow components on this website. I go to it almost weekly. I've forgotten the name of the site.
Unofficial SF.
Unofficial SF. Thank you. God, I'm gonna go to bed now. I'm thinking that if there is something that will do that, they might have already built it and figured it out, because a lot of times where I'm seeing things that Salesforce is going to build this stuff, they already built it.
Isn't and isn't that blog maintained by like half of the Flow product team staff?
Oh, I don't know about that. That's Ford safe harbor statement thinking. I can't.
Well, I did
I'm just
download
saying,
Can't
they're probably
deny
in the
or
know.
accept any of that statements.
I downloaded the Flow Toast from there last week. So yeah, I'll have to go look. Thank you.
You have the link for the group, Christy. Do you want it?
Oh, I thought somebody already put the link to the group.
Excellent.
No?
Okay.
Yep, just above your last post there, Joy.
Excellent. I got a lot of screens open right now. Holy buckets.
Hey, Sarah, you want to show us what you're talking about here in the chat?
Sure, yeah. So I was just playing around, just doing the playing around of like, does it matter what order you put them in? I think it's this one, and I was just using that flow I was showing before. So I have 3 different screens. I put them in order in like this one, I dropped the text input, then the pick list input, then the number input, then the radio button input. But you'll see if like I do a tab, it goes down first and then jumps over to the next column and then goes down. On the next screen, when I was building this screen, I did text, then number, then pick list, then radio button, but it still does the same tab order. So
But
that doesn't
what I
seem to
want
make
you
a
to do in 2
difference.
columns now is make a screen where you put in the field text input and below it, put your next field. What I'm saying is with the drag and drop, do the left side first, then the right side and see.
Yeah, that's what I was saying on
Uh-oh.
the first one. On the first one, I did these 2 fields and then
Oh.
these 2 fields.
Okay.
And then this one, I did these 2 fields, oops, text and number, and then pick list and radio button. It didn't seem to make a difference. However, if you have 2 different sections, so these are 2 different sections now,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna jump within the section and then go to the next section, which might be part of what you're seeing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Native
so,
page
so it
layout
is completing
behavior.
the section in order,
Yeah.
top to bottom, effectively.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Yeah, that
I'll
does make
see if that's
sense.
what mine is doing. I thought when I was doing it, it was going left to right on some, but maybe I can't fathom I only had 2 fields in one section, but I will check.
Okay. Anyway,
Thank you.
that seems to be the order that you plop them in the sections doesn't seem to matter.
Thank
So,
you. That helped me. Hey, saved me a while doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
That's good because holy cow, if it's the order of dropping things in, no.
Right.
It's like the order of field creation automatically added to page layout. No. It doesn't help me.
Did anybody else slip in after Christy?
Not that I saw. Just
Yes.
in the chat.
Ooh, here,
Oh,
yes.
Stu.
Yes, I did.
Go ahead. I had a comment to make about Todd, something that Todd said, or
I have a
Dale said
comment about
Todd.
Todd.
I have a comment about Todd. I got something to say about Todd this time.
I got a lot
Bring
of
it on.
No, something that was mentioned during that, and maybe Dale or Squire, somebody said about, you had mentioned about consultants and having a errant user perhaps, and maybe even Joy said about having special users. Something that I noticed at the org that now I'm working at that they do that is probably everybody else knows this, but as I saw it, I was like, this is an amazing thing that you're doing. They have a special user that they use only for security controls. So certificates, key managers, anything that is high security related settings, that user logs in and can do those things and then logs out, and will never use that user again until there's another key rotation or certificate that needs to be renewed or anything like that. And the reason they do that is so that some errant admin or someone that thinks that they're doing something nice goes and deletes a key or changes a certificate or something, that now nobody can log in. And as they were doing that, I'm like, oh, duh, that is so amazing. Why didn't I think of that? And maybe everyone in this room has thought of it, but I thought that's just a really good practice to have, and I thought I'd share that.
Probably why a lot of organizations don't do that is because they don't want to spend the 18, what is it, 118,
Yeah.
how much per
1800.
license per year
They
just to have
disable it.
dedicated to one thing,
You
but
only
it's
have to
super
use
smart.
it once per year and then
Right.
disable it.
Okay.
So you
And
don't keep it alive.
But aren't you
right,
still
and
paying
I'm
for the
saying
license?
what?
But aren't you still paying for the license? Even if
Right,
it's-
but that's where it's not a cost, it's an investment. You have to convince people that it's an investment. That sounds like the absolute right thing to do, but yeah, you're burning multiple licenses to diversify what ID is maintaining what at a system level. It's a super smart idea, but it's not cheap, and that's probably why it doesn't happen very often.
So in the what you're describing, Stu, they're not that user's not owning anything, just doing the work, right? So it doesn't actually cost anything as long as you've got one free license to assign and then unassign. It doesn't cost additional anything over time. And we've done that with data, like major data loads and some security stuff too, where and even our API users, like turn them on and off for testing, and then we just have, you have that little overage to make sure you've got coverage, but we never keep them active.
No,
but we didn't go to that
Gotcha.
extent, Stu. I like that.
no, we wouldn't keep it active throughout the year, only at those times where if we're making a key rotation or if we're changing a security authentication, then we would enable it again for that specific reason.
Gotcha. And so by deactivating, you technically probably only need one active at any point in time to do the thing. So you're not burning multiple licenses. You just have
You have an
maybe
extra
a handful
license.
of inactive users waiting to be activated. I gotcha. Okay.
So thanks for letting me take a couple minutes to.
No,
James,
that's
do you want to
great.
speak a little bit to your post? Because I think it's valuable.
Sure. Yeah. We have a permission set that we use to elevate the permissions, and no other profiles have the permissions on that permission set. And so when we need to do something that is tricky or could mess something up, we assign that permission set to ourselves, do the change, and then immediately get off that permission set, remove it from the login. That way we don't have to have a second dedicated user for that, and we can more easily track who made the changes.
So I'm curious. I love that, but I'm curious, how do you add and remove that permission set? What's the actual technical protocol for it?
Well, we just grant, go to the permissions, go to the user and add that permission set to their assigned permission sets.
But then do you document who got it when and removed when?
No, we don't go that fancy, but we have some key configuration items that if you change them, like our company has 30 brands, and if you accidentally mess up a brand record, you've got some splaining to do. So I've set it up so we don't allow any permissions, even at the admin level, unless we have a validation rule that no changes are allowed on that brand table unless the user has a custom permission on that permission set to make changes to that table.
because where I was going with that, and tell me to shut up at any point, is permission sets are assignable and unassignable through Flow. That if you wanted to build like an audit application, essentially, that you assign and decommission the permission set to users through the Flow, and then write a record, do a custom object that says at this date and time, permission set assigned to date and time, maybe blurb for Y, removed from XYZ, date and time, if you needed that audit history.
Yeah, we do that in another area where we actually do have elevated permissions through a logging apparatus similar to that.
Gotcha.
But for this one, it's more of a prevent the need to do dope slaps.
I feel like there needs to be dope slap confetti. Instead of an opportunity win, it's you did something dumb right there on the screen.
We need a device on the desktops for that.
Oh. Local, not cloud.
Yeah, you try to fix it for the idiots and they invent better idiots.
All right, Dale, I think you had
Evolution
someone else
through
in queue
devolution.
that wanted to have a question before we go.
Do we? Who did we miss?
Someone rose their hand. Raise it again, please, so I don't look like an idiot.
Well, I know, Dale, you were going to ask a question before we left. Do you want to jump in there? And then if they pop back up, we'll get to it.
I have a question. I'm just not sure how this works.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have a question about sites. So my plan was to create one custom object, expose it to the public. I would populate that with some, let's just say it's a little of a directory. My question is, in order to make that page live, am I resorting to Visual Force? Do I need lightning components? Can I just expose a standard object? I need to be able to use the search facility. So I'd like to be able to type name, blah, 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 and get back a list of records that they could see. Is that something that I can pull off in sites, and how much of the divide between clicks to code do I have to go to get that done?
So you're talking on a community or on a site that is made publicly available external from your org.
Correct.
Okay. So I know they've put a lot of clamps down on guest users. Is there authentication with this, or is it just
Nope.
purely open to the public?
It's why anybody can get to it. It's fine.
What do you want them to do with that information? Is it read? You want, like, you're publishing a list of items you want them to read, or do you want them to
no updates?
No updates. So no edits, no write backs.
They're just looking.
Yeah.
They're just looking for a bit of information. So
this is totally fine, because I've seen this before where people are publishing their job applications or whatever. Here's the new jobs we have, and they'll put it right on their communities. So that is totally doable.
Yep.
Um,
You just need to create the profile for those community users to have read-only access to the object and make it public. I believe that's all it takes, right?
Well, but it's unauthenticated users, so it would have to be somehow through the guest user, or potentially code that exposes the sharing, that then allows for the sharing.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not running a flow or anything, can you make it public and accessible to the guest user profile?
Yeah, I'm literally gonna just write something to populate that object, to write some data into that object, and that data will, is the search functionality exposed in there? And how does that page, if I expose the object, I'm in Salesforce, I know that, and I give that object a tab, then I know what that interface looks like. But if I'm exposing that object on the site side, I don't really know what that looks like, or if I have to build something special to get that look.
And it's not necessarily building on the site. What it is the layer of security that makes that data available to see, which is its back end, its security. There's no authentication. Therefore, there's no user with a profile, no profile to attach object permissions to. It's wide open to everyone. That's where then I'm thinking you might have to be looking at code to say, I know my data set from this object. Code is kind of like are you sure you want to make this public check there versus through the configuration of a profile has read access to this data, sharing shows this much data, all that kind of stuff. And that's what I was saying, guest user, they've really clamped down on from a configuration standpoint of what objects data can be exposed. But I believe through code, you can lift the veil off that data on a public site.
So a custom object by default is not publicly exposable.
Custom objects, you may be okay.
Yeah.
Standard objects, I know they've really put clamps down on.
Yeah, and that's why I was wanting to just use the custom object. I don't need to use any of the standard objects to expose it because it's kind of like a directory.
Okay, you may be okay with configuring that. I guess a different approach, again, going back to why exposing your org's data outside of knowledge, why exposing your org's data without any kind of authentication layer? Like, what's this going to be used for? What is the public going to use this information for when they go and try to search for it?
Essentially, it's just a list of staff people that you could donate to. So you want to donate to so-and-so's, project. So you go to the page and you type their name and it gives you back basically a link, a URL. So I'm just assuming it's just going to be a formula field that gives them the link. So they see your name in the list, they pick the name, they click the link, and it takes them to the site they need to go to. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha. And so is this through NPSP?
We are using NPSP, but this is a custom object, so we're not relying on NPSP.
Right, but if it's an NPSP org, I mean, I guess, is there anybody on the nonprofit side that can speak more to that may open some doors or windows on this?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I guess where I was going with that, and that makes sense why you would want it to be searchable, is if this data set isn't getting refreshed very often. I mean, the super easiest thing to do would be somebody, an admin or whoever is charged with taking that list of data, make it static, publish the page, and boom, it's public. But if you need it searchable against live data, that takes that off the table. I guess my hope would be for something like donations and things like that, NPSP might have some of those permissions baked in to open that up because of the need for it. But I've never worked with NPSP to know that.
Well, there could be. That's a good question. But there, I know there are answers to this. Even through a related list, those would be searchable. And I've seen even things on the App Exchange where there are lightning grids that are available to use on community sites that would have search capabilities.
But wouldn't that data still have to have some underlying CRUD to it?
I mean, if the goal isn't to, there's no write back to it, there's no edit. If he's just showing information on a screen, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
I got a feeling this is doable.
Right. We may just need to go back to the shop and figure it out and communicate out later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just skimming through. There's a ton of new documentation on guest user access that maybe answers this question. So combination of all of us doing some homework might be able to get back to this.
Right. Yeah, so I would say stay tuned, and we probably know where the answer is. We just don't know what the answer is at this exact point in time.
Okay.
Okay.
Need a little bit of playing around first.
And that's half the fun.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
We are at 2:03. I know a lot of people have to drop. A lot of people already have. So I think we'll call it quits for now. But thank you everyone for joining us. As always, great conversation. Hopefully we learned something specifically about ribs if you were on early. And if we didn't get to your question or something comes up, please don't hesitate to post in Success or to email us, and we'll add it to the queue for next time. Anything that you've learned from your questions prior, please post as well so we can follow up and learn more. And I think with that, I'm going to say adieu. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody. All the hearts, all the love. Yes.
The dog was barking. I had to mute.
Taco.
Yeah. He's getting bigger. 85. He's up to 85.
Woo.
About ready to